Hi, and welcome to Rise with Video. I'm your host, Robyn Unwin, and I talk with women business leaders who are raising their profile and visibility through media and video. I ask them to share their top 5 tips, challenges, or learning lessons as they rise and have more of an impact with their message. We'll talk video tech, but we'll also talk about the inner game of video and building our capacity to show up powerfully and visibly as women in business. So welcome to this episode of Rise with Video. Today I'm sitting down with Sherrice Kirby, who in an earlier part of her business life created great visibility and profile with her coaching practice, Great Life Designs. But in midlife, she's made a creative shift and launched a career as a commercial artist. So I'm excited to dig into how this has affected her rise with visibility and ultimately her strategy and direction.
Welcome in, Sherrice, and so glad to have you here. I know it's been a weird time of us not being able to see each other because we're usually seeing each other in person a lot, but can't wait to get together with you this weekend in person. And welcome in. I can't wait for you to share some of the experience and stories that you have around your rise in visibility. So hello.
Hi, thank you for having me, Robyn. I'm thrilled to be here, and and it's interesting you talk about visibility because I feel like I have wanted to not be visible for some time, and not out of any. It's more just wanting some privacy and wanting to just hone in and be at home. And I think it was just the energy of the time with what we're living through.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I thought you were such an interesting person to talk to in terms of this visibility and this dance with being out there, because I think of as being one of the trailblazers of visibility, right at the very beginning when we were all starting this online journey and doing some of our boot camps. You were one of the first ones out of the gate with a complete course, and you had the social media kicking and completely rocking it. And then I know that you had a title shift in the middle of that. And so I thought it would be really interesting to talk about what was that for you and what was your experience of making that big life and career shift halfway through this rise in visibility.
Oh, so funny. I remember you and I having this big conversation. You're like, you're on a rocket, like stuff's happening. I'm like, I don't want it. And it is interesting because I have some visibility, but I shut down lots of the social media sites and lots of the things that existed that had the hundreds of followers, thousands, hundreds of thousands of followers, because it
Yeah.
just wasn't where I was at. And things got a little weird. I would say that's part of it. People start to have certain expectations of you. Um, I that I never had any intention of meeting.
Yeah,
And
talk a little bit about that because I know that's one thing that gets away from people a lot. And sometimes it doesn't, but we have this lurking fear that it's going to. So, yeah, talk a
um,
little bit about what that was about.
people started to have certain expectations, or they started to see you as this, I don't like the word very much, but guru, and that you knew things you didn't know. And people would ask me questions and I'd be like, I have no idea. Like, why would you think I would know that answer to that? Like, or people would like, I would be doing conferences and people would sort of look at you like this. And it really became apparent to me that people are just looking for leadership. They're looking for community. They're looking for those things. And I don't know that I ever set out to be a leader, like, so to speak. Like, I was like, okay, I want to create this thing. I I sort of believe I have talents in this area, and what I'm really good at is the XYZ. So that's kind of what I wanted to present. Like, I really loved helping people map their businesses. That's what I really wanted to do, and it's my talent strategies where I work well. So I never really had this intention of ever, you know, even my retreats were about, okay, come and let's map out our lives. Let's figure out how
Being
things are going.
together.
Let's be together and let's do this thing together because I think that you have something special to share and you have something special to share. And maybe if we all get together, we'll create this alchemy that'll help all of us. And so is what it was all about. But then it just started to, yeah, it started to move in directions that just felt, a little bit out of my control. And I also, my life circumstances really pulled me back. My husband was diagnosed with cancer in 2018. And so I had to go through that journey. And at that point, I just went no to everything. And I shut down stuff. I closed all of my
Yeah.
courses. I only kept my clients that I still have that I literally work with every year. It's like I have this solid group of clients that support my business strategy business, and I support them. And most of them are really good friends. And so I still keep those people, and I will take the odd new client, but it's almost like they've introduced me. Hey, this person really needs you. So, and
Right.
I just felt this need to really pull back. And it was a great opportunity. It was a horrible experience and an opportunity for me to have a great excuse to go, this isn't speaking to me anymore. Like
Not
I want,
aligned.
yes, it's not aligned. I want my small business strategy business, but I don't, I don't want to be on stages with thousands of women. That doesn't speak to me at all. Like it's not, and it isn't about me wanting to be, it's like, I've been challenged, like, oh, do you, want to be visible? I'm like, well, I guess it's sort of that. It's not that I'm afraid of it. It's just that I find I've been in so many of those spaces, and I pick up on the weirdest energies. Like I'm just like, I'm like, something's off here. And every single one that I've been to, something has been off for me. And it has there, integrity, I would say, an alignment are things I've always talked. And when it doesn't work, I'm out. So, and I move fast. So
Well, you could even almost say that about the whole social media space because it's been in such flux. And I know that there's been, kind of this weird big brother thing that's happening with all of the big tech. And so for people who have, reluctance or maybe even a lack of trust of all of that kind of thing, it's an easy way or it's an easy time to say, you know what, not right now. So I totally
mhm,
get that. I find it interesting that you really made the most of it when it was fun and when it
mhm.
didn't feel dangerous is a dramatic word, but when it didn't feel out of alignment in terms of your
Yeah,
values because it felt like what you were doing was completely in alignment in terms of you're one of the funniest humans I know, so you're just out there being you on
yeah.
social media. So
Well, it was,
I think the timing is interesting for you to be able to pull back and just recalibrate.
yeah, it was fun. I was having fun. I look back at some of my own content and old content, and I go, I would never say that now. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, where was my brain? Because we grow, we evolve,
Yeah.
and that has definitely happened for so many of us. And so I can look back at it and go, at the time it was awesome, but I could never, keep selling that product or that content because it's not my truth anymore. It doesn't speak to the things that I want to speak to, or it's nothing that I want to teach anymore. So if I were to continue to keep selling that course or to continue, without massive updates and overhauls, it
Yeah.
wouldn't be in alignment anymore. And also then you have people asking you questions about things that you really don't want to teach anymore. So that is one of the things about, if you're going to be front and center, if you're going to take center stage, if you're going to do this, you have to constantly be adapting yourself with, like, checking in. What are my values? Where's my integrity right now? And you have to be checking in with your audience. Like, is this still relevant? Is this still something I want to teach? Does it still work? Um, and also, a million people are going to follow in your footsteps and copy what you do anyway. So you don't have to teach it anymore because someone else is going to be teaching it.
If you just wait a year and somebody else will have.
Somebody else copied all your content anyway. So let them and go do something new, which is like, I really have felt that I've been a mother of reinvention when I felt like doing something different. And that's been my entire career. Um, when I've felt like doing something, that's what I've gone and done. And if I wanted to stop doing something, I just stopped doing it. So um, maybe that comes from a place of, you know, I've always had my feet in a number of boats, just,
Well,
and
this isn't it. I want to return to this at the end because I've got a question for you to wrap up the
okay.
whole interview. But
Okay.
let's dive into some of the tips that you have because this very first one is really relevant to, I think anybody who goes through some sort of a shift, if you have good photos. So your very
Ah,
first tip is the importance of having good B-roll photos and good bio photos and a plethora of images to choose from. And that was one of the things that was so delightful for me in working with you as your video producer, is that you just always had such solid images. It was just a delight to do your videos because there was so much to work with. So talk a little bit about why you knew in the early days that that was so important to building your brand and really creating your image online.
It's so interesting. Every website I've created has started with a photo shoot, and it has directed the whole thing. Like for me, when I go to whenever I went to design, I've done, gosh, how many websites have I done now? That overwhelms me to think about it, or even at helping other people. But the first thing I've done is have a photo shoot. Like I picked the clothes, I picked the texture, the location, where do I want to be? And I still do
the tone,
the feel of it. Yes. And I still do lots of photo shoots because just for my family. And it's not like I'm always on social media, but I want to mark moments. And but I love marking moments. And also it's beautiful that they're curated and that I've got fake lashes on at the time and all those things.
How helpful that I jump out of the shower fully made up.
Yes, exactly. Like, let's get to the truth of things. So every single, every website, every video, any project I've created has started with great photos. And interesting, I can really speak to that. So when I have all this art and it's building up in my house and I needed to get rid of it and I needed to start moving some more of it. And I've only used social media. And also, like, let's preface me, I rarely post. I am rarely on social media. My family life just keeps me too busy. And also the second I'm looking, I get sucked in, and the next thing I'm looking at Kate Beckinsale with her cat videos, and yeah, exactly. So I'm careful about when I'm doing that. And so, like I said, everything starts with that photo shoot, and then it'll set the tone. So when I decided to create my art site, the first thing I did was hire someone to come in and just photograph my art, me with my art. And I picked a photographer, and I looked, had she ever worked with artists before? So she came in, and she, I had an idea of what I was going to wear, my hair, and the colors I wanted. And then we just started positioning my art and moving, creating these big things. And I created my own website. This was the first website I've ever done all on my own. And
Wow.
just from those photos, I went into Squarespace and I did it myself. And you have to think, I've been at this since 2010. I know it's a pretty good site. Since 2010, I've had someone else build all my stuff. And those people are still on my team. Like, I still love them. They're still some of my best friends, the people that I work with. But I was like, I'm just going to challenge myself here. Art is a pet project for me. And it's something I love to do. So I'm just going to, see what happens with these photos. From the photos she created and captured, I was able to design that site. I already had a lot of the writing behind it, but it was a large part to do with that. So I would say, number one, the second you're going to start doing something, really think about what you want for photos, be willing to pay for them, be willing to pay a good photographer, research a photographer, look at their site. What have they done? Have they worked with someone like you before? And then start to play with that.
I'm so glad that you said about choosing a professional photographer, because a lot of the times a mistake people will make is thinking that their videographer is a photographer. And so they'll say, hey, get some photos of me while you're doing the video. And it's just not the same art. And so really hiring somebody who it's their specialty, it's probably one of the best investments that you'll make, because you can tell when unless you're an amazing, amazing iPhone photographer and have, an amazing post-production or filters or something, it's still going to look like iPhone photography. So really going the high end and getting somebody who really knows what they're doing.
And on that, when you're doing videos, like when you're making your videos, have the photographer there. Then she's capturing the background. We did this when I did one of my video series. We just did the whole package. We had the makeup artist, we had someone, I think, do my hair. We did it all, and then your videos, and we had a photographer come in, and it was amazing because
I still use some of those pictures. Actually,
me too.
They were awesome.
Some of them, and it was great because everyone who was in the production got photos to use. Like Melody got photos to use. We all did. It was fantastic. And so it's, it was just a multi-core investment on all of our parts.
Well, that's a great segue to the second one because you're talking about this in terms of an entire production. And I think one of the things I love about having worked with you is I don't even know if you do this consciously or if it's just the way that you roll. But, a big part of planning a video shoot and shooting your course is the production design, thinking about the overall brand and creating a real unified look throughout. So your second tip is make sure your clothing, colors, and choices all reflect your brand. So talk a little bit about how being strategic about that has really helped shape things for you, Sherrice.
hmm I've got my favorite colors. My brand has always been blues and teals and whites and grays. Like even look behind me, the painting behind me,
Your
it's kind of,
painting
it's
actually is your
coincidental, but
palette, isn't it?
those are very palettes. I probably don't use that creamy so much. I use more gray, but it's very similar. And then I'm in blue, and I don't know that I've done it consciously. I certainly did when I would set up my videos and things like that. But when I first made my very first brand, that was the palette I chose. Your website person, it sends you some samples, and I was like, this is definitely my colors. This is what I'm drawn to. And then from there, it was just design things. Like I'm like, what's going to fit? Because if this outfit, if I wear hot pink and now all my brand is this, it's going to look off if I use those pictures for my website. So it's a matter of thinking of all those elements. And I would say on that note, pick colors for your brand that you love and that you commonly wear. Like do that, or stay very neutral so that your palette looks beautiful and so that it flows. And then you have, it's just like you're getting the video, you're getting multiple images so that you take advantage of the time that you're spending too, because you might as well do everything at once. I didn't have the luxury of a lot of time with all the projects that I was working on. So it was like, okay, we need to capture photos for the website. We need to capture video for the website for this project. We need it all done today. We need the snippets of my voice. We need the content. This is what we need. So it was a matter of necessity, I think, that we did it. So, now I can teach it. Was there forethought? Maybe. They're all, most of my wardrobe is blue and grays and neutrals. So,
Right.
So it was a matter of that, but now we certainly can teach it and tell people this is something to think about and also get the best bang for your buck.
Well, you mentioned something really important at the very beginning, and that was choosing your favorite colors. Because I think one of the things that happens, especially if we've been in business a long time and we've been with our brand for a while, we get restless. And I don't know about you, but I've always wanted to do like a complete do-over. But that's just brand suicide because you're just scrapping everything that you already have. So,
Yeah.
I think that one of the most important things about that is to have a bridging color or, something that is the anchor. So I always suggest to my clients, start out with your favorite color. As
Yep.
if you're a blue person, stay with blue and then
Yeah.
use pink as an accent or red as an accent or taupe or whatever. But you can change
hmm
things up that way, but you've got that unified, if your wardrobe is always blue, then you're always going to be relevant and you can always use those photos.
Exactly. And it's interesting, like, you have to think, starting back in, like, what was it, 2010? Like, I'm trying to remember. And
It was
so
about that time.
I've aged in that time. And so I can look still, but the photos still work because I still look like me, even though I'm, 11 years older and, approaching
Because you
50
haven't
really
aged a
fast.
day.
So, but I did, some of them still work and other ones, it's nice to go, oh, what is that line? Like, here's how it started. Here's how it's going.
Yeah,
So
right. The before and afters.
yeah. Yeah, because we do get, keeping things relevant, that's important too. So that you have flow all through it. It's just something that maybe I naturally did, but also, it worked. And I think it's something that should be considered for sure.
You mentioned our photo shoot a while ago, and that reminds me of one of the things that you mentioned as one of your tips is the third one, making it fun. So talk a little bit. That's one of the things, Sherrice, that I just think about every single time we work together. I just had a blast. I couldn't, at the end of it, I look back and I was
Mhm.
like, I can't believe I got paid to do that because that was a blast. So talk about, just your premise about keeping things fun. I would say that's probably one of the credos that you have for business in general,
Yeah.
but talk about it in terms of your rise with video and rise in visibility, keeping it fun.
I would say this comes back to what I talked about with integrity. I think that if you're in integrity and you are teaching what you know and you are mining your own life, and then it's naturally just going to happen. When I create videos with you, when I worked with you, that was just me being me. That was us having fun. That was us joking. It was how I operate in my life. So if you are in integrity and if you're behaving that way, it's just going to work, because you're just naturally going to show up. I think that where people get in trouble is, I do see people often teaching things that, I'm not saying you have to be an expert on something before you start to teach it, but I think that you have to mine your own life and your own stories and your own experience. So if you're doing that, it's just going to flow and it's going to be fun, you know.
Right.
And also, this comes back to research who you're going to work with. I don't know that I would have had fun with it with other people. You and I have this great chemistry. So if I worked with another videographer, it might not have been the same. So make sure you know who you're working with. Pick someone that
Well, you would have had to wear pants.
Oh, I would have had to wear pants.
I'll never forget that.
I'm just going to put the shirt on. Let's do this fast.
Yeah. You're shooting from the waist up, right?
Right? I just can't find any pants that work.
That's actually what I was thinking of when you said make it fun. I was thinking of that exact moment.
Don't
You
wear
cracked
pants.
me so up I couldn't even keep it together. That was classic.
Exactly.
Classic
It's like, let's just do this. Let's get it done as fast as possible. Exactly. I can only work with women because I frequently won't have pants on. You know? And I'm just like, you're only filming from here up, right? Because I refuse to wear a bra right now.
Okay. Well, this is actually a really fun segue into your next one, because you know, one of the things that I was really impressed with in the way that you do your videos is you just really know how your straight to camera works the best. And straight to camera is this weird thing because you have to be this combination of on ground and connected to yourself and your message. So, you know, memorizing might work for some people, but you had, you know, reams, you had, you know, I would say 7 or 8 videos to shoot. So there's no way that you could have memorized it. But one of the things I loved is you just had a notepad like this and you just did your entire workshop straight to camera from notes. Some people need teleprompters, some people need title cards, and some people actually do memorize their stuff. So talk about a little bit about knowing your delivery style and how that's important, so important. So that was your 4th tip, is know your delivery style, and know your delivery style for delivering to camera.
This comes back to know what you're going to teach. I think, you know, some people maybe get nervous because they're in front of the camera. So I think that's something to maybe work on, like practice in front of the mirror, or great, you know, throw on your Zoom and just practice speaking how you naturally speak. I only use notes because I knew my content. I knew what I was going to say. I don't need a teleprompter. I didn't need that stuff because you should only be teaching what you know. And if that's what you're doing, then it will flow and it will be easy and you don't necessarily need notes. I loved having my iPad or my notes because I had to refer to questions, or I defer to quotes that someone maybe had said to me, or I wanted to make sure that I was staying like, okay, you know, here are the 12 points that I'm covering in this video, and boom, 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 to just make sure. But it was only a heading and then I just spoke. So if you really study and know your content, then I think it just flows. Just like any teacher would do. A professor stands up at the front of the room to teach a class. They're not always referring to their notes. They know their content. So if you're going to make videos, if you're going to be teaching something, I hope you know it. So if you know it really well, then just flow with it. And and I would say the biggest thing you can do then is practice, because if you know your content, and you're going to get nervous, because we do see people get nervous. So then you just have to practice like this, like throw the video, you know, throw on your Zoom and speak to your Zoom. Or I used to just, what is the little thing on the bottom of your Mac, the little symbol? I just used to throw that camera on. I think it's called like Movie or something. I just used to throw that on and speak and practice speaking. So I could
just to see what's
just to see what I
happening.
look like. And then I would just talk and I would kind of practice like that. And it got me over my nerves. And I still do that sometimes if I know I'm going to be speaking, like especially something corporately, or, you know, I've been in front of a lot of people on a lot of stages and a lot of videos. So now it just kind of flows. But for those people that are starting out and they're nervous, just get practicing that. You know your content, so don't let the camera or the mic distract you. Like that's the biggest thing to overcome is, the stage fright. And so, and don't get me wrong, every time I go to do something like this, I sweat a little bit. Like that's me, that's truth. Like, so it's because I want to deliver, I want to make sure I'm serving well. So I do put a little pressure on myself. So, we have to manage our feelings, we've got to manage our expectations, and then practice and know
Yeah.
your content.
I love that you say that because knowing your content, I think, really is the key. I happen to use a teleprompter just because I do get a little bit tongue-tied when I'm one of those people that as soon as I see that red light or as soon as I know that I'm on, I stumble over my words a lot,
Yeah.
and it would take me a long, long time, but I do really go into the writing of it. So when you say know your content, I'm really clear on what I need to say. And
Yes.
I'm actually just challenging myself right now to just go off of bullet points on the
Yes.
teleprompter. So it sounds a little bit more natural, a little bit
Mhm.
more conversational. So, I think exactly know your style, know what works for you, because I can't imagine you using a teleprompter. It's like it would be you muted.
Yeah.
There would only be 70% of the authenticity of your delivery if you were shooting by teleprompter. So just knowing what worked for you, I think, was really important to the
Yeah.
authenticity of your message.
Yeah, and I should say that is what works for me. It's some people, and certainly, the best news people in the world use teleprompters. So certainly it works, and especially if you're trying to create something quickly too, that you don't have time to necessarily, dive in, learn it all, or, yeah, figure out what works for
Or
you.
if it's something that you know so much about and you're worried that you're going to just start branching off just because it's like,
Oh yeah,
oh, squirrel,
that's
and then
why
you
I
end
have the
up
bullet
going
points.
on and on and on. So,
Yeah, that's why I have the bullet points. Otherwise, I could get off topic fast. I could end up talking about 7 other things. So the bullet points are important so that I stay on topic, stay on task. Yeah, it's a
I'll
great
tell you
idea.
one thing about going on bullet points, though. If it was so easy to edit that because you just bang, 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 you didn't have a
Yeah,
lot of retakes on that. So
yeah,
that was pretty
works
impressive, my
well.
friend.
Thank you.
We talked about this at the very beginning, but I want to close on this because more than anything, your last tip is you said allow your video brand to evolve. So to ebb and flow with the rhythms of your life, with the rhythms of your passion, with the rhythms of your message, which might change, sort of halfway through your life. So just let's finish off or bookend the interview with, I want to ask one question to you about, do you miss the visibility and the intensity of being out there all the time? Just curious if
Absolutely
that's a
not.
shift for you.
Absolutely not. No,
Not at all,
I
eh?
don't, not at
Okay.
all. No, I don't miss it. I, I, I'm really content. I have moments when I think, gosh, if I still was out there, I could do this, this, and this. Like I certainly have moments when I think, oh, well, this came up for me. And if I was maintaining my audience, if I was doing the work, if I was posting daily, if I was constantly, doing that, then this would have a place. And so I would say some great things that some of my great content is just sitting there, maybe with no one seeing it. That would be the one thing that maybe I regret. But also, I'm like, and also I don't care. Like, so it's this,
Right.
this ambivalence of, I've never thought that I had some great message that the world had to hear or anything like that. People will find what they need. It'll fall into their lap. The people that I've surrounded myself with or have come into my sphere, I've helped them. They've helped me. There's been mutuality. So that doesn't overwhelm me, I would say. So I would say, no, I don't miss it. I have transitioned so much into other things. Like I certainly think, oh, I probably could move a lot more art if I was still, willing to go at it like that. But also I don't want to be accountable to being constantly creative. So I shouldn't say that. I feel like I am constantly creative, but I don't want to demand on my life that I have to be doing something. And for me,
Right.
social media feels that way. It feels like you've got to be doing the daily post. You've got to be, it's this constant like wheel. And I really start to wonder, and this, how present can you be in your life if you're always having to capture the moment?
Right.
And that is something I refuse to do. I'm like, and I've had friends like, people come to join me and I'm like, I'm sorry guys, there's no cameras here. No.
Right. Yeah. A social occasion that all of a sudden
Yeah.
everybody's like, yeah,
Yeah.
good for
And
you
I'm
for
like,
that.
and I've
Yeah.
just set a boundary. I'm like, I'm not going to, I'm not here to assist you in this moment to build your brand. Like, because I witnessed people doing that, like, here's me with so and so and so. And it's just something I was never comfortable with. Like, people would want that photo op, and I'm just like, this is so weird. I'm like, I'm no one. Like, so it felt so awkward to me that so I don't miss any of that. I like my privacy. I really love my privacy and my family's privacy. And I love to give that privacy as well to people I work with and that are around me. So that I love that, just to keep things private. And there's a sacredness in our personal lives that I don't want to lose. There's just so that really is important to me. So yeah, so you wanted me to speak to the transition of my brand of so
Well, before you move on to that,
yeah.
because one of the things that I've noticed, you mentioned the word service a few times, and I think
Okay.
in the early days it was in service to your clients, to your
Yeah.
group, to your mission, to be out there. And I think now it's just as much in service to your family, to your mission,
Mhm.
to your new business, to be
Yeah.
doing it this way. So I think it's just, choosing things that are most in service to you and your mission. And if, a big audience is part of that mission, then maybe it is exciting to be really out there and consistent and doing it
Yeah.
in that
And
way.
it
But
was like, I would say
yeah,
it was. When I was doing that, I loved it. Like, I was certainly, it was where I was at. It's just things shifted inside of me, and it didn't speak for me anymore. So if that's what someone wants, they absolutely should go for it. Like,
right.
if that's, do it. um and realize the commitment it takes. Like I said, every moment now this is social media, this is driving that you have to commit to the work that it takes. and and this is the thing to realize is, there's so much content out there that you do have to be constantly to stay relevant. You're going to have to be adapting your content, you're going to have to be changing things, you constantly have to be, in that move and shake. What's been interesting is my audience has kind of come with me. So,
Right.
like, even though I did such a huge pullback, that they still stuck around because, now I was
Well, they
saying
wanted
it
you.
differently. Yeah, I was saying it differently and it looked differently. And it was like, okay, here's a pretty painting and here's all the things that happened while I was painting that. So here's all this great advice, sort of, around how I'm living now and how I'm searching for more depth. And so they came with me. They got something visual that wasn't just me with me saying the same soulful mumblings that I think while I paint.
Guru
So
stuff. I know you
yeah.
cringe at that, but you really, that's the thing. You were a comedian guru, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you had all of this wisdom that was cloaked in beautiful humor, but people would walk away feeling very changed
Yeah.
having been
So,
in your presence,
oh, thank you. That's so nice for you to say. Yeah. So it's still happening. It's still going on. It's just in a really different way. Like,
Yeah.
and it's interesting with COVID. Like, I couldn't have fathomed having to be posting myself every day or to creating videos every day. So the people that are doing that, like, props to you, because I do this hair once every 2 weeks. Like, those are the things that I just, so I'm like, so it's so much easier for me to paint something and to post that. So the people that are doing that, I admire it. Wow, your commitment is amazing. And and some of them, like, I watch some of the women that are still doing what I was doing, and their commitment to their brand, and and they're exploding. It's amazing how they're serving the world. And wow, you're amazing. I just, that, know thyself. It wasn't what I was
Right.
going to
And
do.
thy
And
phase of life.
exactly, and my phase of life, like, it didn't feel, it didn't work for me in that time and space. And also, I transitioned. It's like I found myself, instead of being in front of the computer writing all the time, I wanted to be, creating things. I wanted to be refinishing a piece of furniture and feeling that sense of, like, creativity, or I wanted to be in the studio painting and feeling what that creativity felt like. So it was like I'm carving creativity into everywhere I can, so that I feel good. And it was about the creative process, not about the end product. And That's been the
Right.
big thing. It was just, I'm in this process. Let's see what it becomes. A mess or a masterpiece, but it's going to be there and it's going to be mine. And I, I always taught this non-attachment to things, and and the creative process really leads me down that road, because I don't necessarily know how things are going to turn out, but this is what's going to happen. We're going to see where it goes. And maybe that's my biggest teaching of all is around that stuff, is honoring yourself, where you're at, your creative process, and only put out what really is an integrity to you, and what you want. So some of your content won't age well and you'll want to get rid of it. So just make sure that you're being true to yourself.
Sherrice, this is an interesting loop-de-loop in your whole career, because your original business was Great Life Designs. And I think one of the things that you're talking about more than anything is have a strategy, an overarching strategy that truly stays true to who you are. And the business may change, the brand may change, your relationship with visibility may completely be altered halfway through. But if you stay true to yourself and who you are and what you love, it will all evolve and just flow with you.
It will. Yeah. Your message is great. That's exactly it. It's,
What's your message?
yeah, design, create what you want, bring creativity into it. Make sure, it's your stuff and it's your brand, and you can edit things, you can move, you can take things down, you can edit them, you can recreate them. It is your brand. Produce what you want to produce. And it's nice. You have total control. This is your business. And also the strategy could change. I would say make sure you have a great team around you, so that you have people that help you to, is this still relevant? Should we edit this? And work with that. And if you don't have the budget for a team, make sure, you're reviewing things around, like, does this still speak to what I want? Grow, evolve it,
Or a
change
coach
it.
or a mastermind. Yes. Or yeah.
Something that you're connected with, or listen to your audience. What are they telling you? Like, that if the audience isn't there, they're leaving, then maybe it's not speaking to them. Or and we do have to be careful. We do have to make sure that we're paying attention to the culture and where things are going and what's happening, and make sure that we are caring about the world in so many ways, to make sure that we stay relevant, and what we are presenting is still important.
That's a great way to finish. Keep your content relevant and important and serving the world.
And serving the world, yeah.
Yeah.
Know why you do what you do, and then do it.
Well, Sherrice, I can't thank you enough for being here. Thanks for these amazing tips. I've loved this conversation. I knew we'd have a freewheeling fun time, but thanks for bringing your wisdom and your experience. And, part of me was hoping that you'd say, oh, I'm desperate to get back in front of the camera, and I can't wait to do it again, and I miss it. And I'd be like, oh, good. I can't wait to do this again, because working with you has been truly one of the best experiences in my career. I just love the work that we've done together and created. And who knows, what the rest of the career and evolution will look like. You've got a child who she's budding and emerging and doing her own thing. So who knows what
who knows what
will look like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. She's 15. So yeah, who knows when we're empty nesters, what I'll start to create. We never know. I'll keep you posted.
Awesome. Have a great day, everyone. And thanks for tuning in. And again, Sherrice, thanks so much for being here with us.
Take care. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for being here and staying right to the end of this episode of Rise with Video. Keep in mind, I'm always looking to work with committed and conscious women business leaders to help them create quality video brands. So if that's you, check out the link in the show notes and let's book a virtual coffee. You can catch other episodes on our YouTube channel, Rise with Video. And if you like this video, hit like and share it with your friends. Again, thanks for being here, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Rise with Video.